Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Happy whatever day you're watching this. Hopefully Thursday. Taking some time after Thanksgiving to, wind down, get excited for some weekend wrestling. Hope you've enjoyed your holiday, or if you're like me and don't do anything until Black Friday, I hope you're well prepped for the next day. But it's the Thanksgiving season. It's also we're approaching the holidays, and we have Bell to Bell presents Jingle Bells coming up. So took some time to sit down with one of the faces of the company, Valentina. Thank you so much for jumping on here with us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm surprised you don't like Thanksgiving.
I do. I actually love Thanksgiving. My family's always done it Friday just because we have, like, my sister does her stuff different days. So we always just were like, we'll do it Friday. So we've just kept that tradition now. So Thursday is actually more fun for me because I don't have to do anything. It's like parade football, just relax the entire day. So it's even better, honestly, because we get like
That's funny. I do
days.
watch the parade too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I appreciate you taking some time to jump on here with us. You've been working Bell to Bell since the inception of the company there, been one of the standards there. So what was initially the appeal to you? I mean, it's a women's only promotion, so that's always cool, especially for people like my daughter who didn't really have an interest in wrestling until it was like, oh, it's only girls. Yeah, I'm definitely going. But what was the draw for you in terms of joining a company like that? Because they're few and far between, unfortunately.
So you're right. It was a all women's company. It's literally all women's. It's a woman running the show. It's practically all women everywhere, like camerawoman, I should say. And like announcers and stuff. So that's very interesting. Most times you'll have like a woman show and then it's a man running it, which hey, listen, I'm not against that. I just think that um it's nice, it's refreshing to have a woman run it. I think, you know, there's differences between men and women, obviously, and I think running a woman's show with a woman as your promoter, I guess you can say, is ideal. They know kind of they understand where the women are coming from their point of view, and like if their crowd is mostly women, then they'll understand like kind of what women would want in
Right.
wrestling. Sometimes because when there's still a man promoter, there's still things that is like for the male glaze, and I think this is more female glaze promotion overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been very well received. I've been in attendance. I've taken my daughter every time. There's a lot of people there every single time. And so that has to be rewarding too, just because, you see wrestling companies that start and they don't really get off the ground. And this one certainly has. So how much of that do you attribute to just the caliber of talent that's on the roster, as well as, wrestling at the Monster Factory? I'm sure has some appeal and draw to it as well, just from name recognition of the company that hosts.
So I think it's also so it's a mix of new girls and older, not older girls, but girls that have been around in the scene. And I
Mm.
think that helps. I feel like a lot of the times, a lot of these companies reuse the same people over and over again, and it's kind of not growing stale, but a lack of a better terms, it is. And I
Mhm.
think Bell to Bell shows a unique interest in giving an opportunity to some girls who probably would not be able to go on other shows, and there I think the crowd also likes that as well, being able to see new faces, and getting to see all types of variety of women and being able to see the type of different types of wrestling that all the girls do.
Yeah, definitely. And to your point, I mean, there is usually a former, larger company talent that comes and helps, but it's not overwhelming in terms of that card. And I think that you see a lot of companies try to spend to draw people in, whereas Bell to Bell has really kind of been reliant on the talent that they already have on the roster and not utilizing that. So very good point in terms of the good mix of giving that entry talent. And the established vets some time to work together. So, you're in the Northeast, and there's no shortage of wrestling companies up this way. So, what are some of the things that excited you about Bell to Bell in terms of the people that you've gotten to work with at this particular company that you might not have worked with prior or been on the same card?
So I for me, it's usually I'm on the same card with some of these girls, but I've never wrestled them.
Mhm.
So I had the opportunity to do sometimes I wrestled girls that I interact with and seen, but I've never gotten to be in the ring with them. And I thought that was really awesome. The Northeast you're right. It's not, hurting for wrestling business. But I like the opportunity to go against girls that, hey, I may have seen or know about, but not been able to wrestle per se. And I think this company has allowed me to get that opportunity to wrestle different women.
Yeah, absolutely. So this time of year is also tricky because there are a lot of events still going on despite the holidays. So how does that kind of play a factor in what you're anticipating with crowds, knowing that it's a holiday weekend, but at the same time an established company that has a pretty good fan base that shows up all the time. What are you preparing for? What are you trying to do differently to get in the holiday spirit and give the people that showed up something new?
So I think personally right now, like my match, originally was supposed to be with Nikki Duke. I've never wrestled her before, so that would have been the first time. But unfortunately card changes all the time. So I'm going against a luchadora and I'm excited for that. I think that is going to be a little bit different. Um, I don't want to pronounce her name wrong. So like I'm terrified of pronouncing her name wrong. Pegasus. I'm assuming I like I said, I'm terrified if I said it wrong. I apologize. I'm gonna have to I've watched her stuff though, so that's why I'm very interested. I think that's going to be a little bit different than what everyone else is seeing right now. I think a lot of times the girls aren't really doing a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's totally okay. Everyone has their favorite flavor of ice cream, as my old trainer preacher used to say.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. And I think that will spark some interest into, seeing that, especially, it's kind of like a little early. So it's not super early. So everyone can go to their Black Friday shopping and then kind of have that weekend and then come to the show afterwards,
Yeah.
spend some money there and spend some money
Yeah, absolutely.
here.
Absolutely. So you mentioned it, card is subject to change. What goes into the mindset for you when that does happen? Obviously, in this instance, there's a little bit more time than, day before, day of something happens that you have to quickly pivot gears. But what is typically the mindset for you in terms of preparing, getting ready for one opponent, and then whoops, something happened. Now I'm facing someone else, especially, a luchadora, someone new, someone you haven't faced before.
Yeah. So thank God it was a little bit earlier than, the day before, because that's kind of where oh, you watch people's matches and you study them, and then you're like, all right, I kind of have some ideas on how this match will hopefully go, or ideas on how I want it to go. But once it changes, then you have to kind of redo it all over again, where you need to watch stuff and try to figure out what would be the best offense to their defense kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was, it's unfortunate, Nikki Duke kind of had to do her own thing. I get it, life happens. But you just kind of have to switch gears at that point. You're like, all right, I was ready for this person. I have to be ready for someone else.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but it happens quite often.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Let's talk the crowd a little bit. I mean, you've been on the show before, and this is a question I've talked to you before about because you're no stranger to the Philly wrestling scene. And, Philly crowds, it's not as bad as I think it once was. I mean, pre-pandemic, I know the Philly wrestling scene was a little bit more hostile, and for whatever reason, it's calmed down. So, how would you gauge? Because to an extent, the Monster Factory crowd is still a Philly wrestling crowd. It's 5 minutes across the bridge, so you're still kind of getting that. But at the same time, Monster Factory has that notoriety of what they do, the training that they offer, things like that. So the crowd is a little different. How has it been for you in terms of wrestling in front of the Bell to Bell slash Monster Factory crowd there?
Um, so for Bell to Bell, I think they've been receptive. I'm a little bit of a baddie, so I kind of have to deal with the booze, and that's fine. They just don't like greatness. But yeah, the Philly crowd has relaxed quite a bit. I remember like kind of one of my first few shows where I was not shocked because I was pre-warned how the crowd would be, but it was kind of like, oh, okay, now I'm in here, like I'm in this, and I kind of have to just, like water up a dog's back, kind of deal with it that way. And there is a big significant change, I think, after COVID. I'm not genuinely sure why, but it could possibly be like the shows as well. I think um Bell's kind of more like family friendly in a sense. And also I think a certain type of crowd likes women wrestling and kind of dig that. And then there's like a different crowd when it's like intermingled and mixed as well. And I think nowadays people are more respectful to women's wrestling as well. Even when I was starting, but they weren't. And now I feel like it's a little bit they are now. And you're going to an all woman show, so what can you possibly, you're not going to see like any males. So I think
Right.
people going into there know what they're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we look ahead, then beyond this event, obviously there's a full slate of bell to bell events already announced for next year. So, you don't have to give anything away about future opponents, but in terms of the future of bell to bell, and what you've seen so far, what's your excitement level moving forward here as we look to 2025?
So I personally want to win more. I lost my first match and then I won my second match. So I want to take that stride and keep going forward. I'm excited to wrestle new girls. Like I said before, like there's just so many of them that I've seen or know about, but I have never really like wrestled with them. So that's very exciting, and getting to able to get those opportunities to do that. That is the goal here. I really love that. And that's kind of where I'm, what I mean, like where my thought process is just being able to have the experiences with different girls. And like that might be like low like goals or whatever, but to me, I really like that, being in wrestling for quite a while and having to not wrestle some different faces, and now being able to have that opportunity, and I'm incredibly happy for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking to this Saturday. I'm assuming you're watching this before the event happened. If not, then you already know what happened. But we have Valentina Vazquez versus Pegasa. I'm hopeful I said that right as well. But so let's talk through the match. What's kind of your mindset going in? You said you're trying to build off of that win. So what are you hoping to accomplish for this as you start to continue to add to that win total at Bell to Bell?
So I kind of want to show something a little bit different. This opponent is a little different than all the other girls that I have wrestled. So maybe show up some of my lucha stuff that I have. I don't really show that off much anymore, so maybe I'll get the chance to do that this time around. And I feel like having the win the last time will benefit me, and being able to go forward and winning this as well. The end game is just winning against all the girls that are there to show that I am the best. And there's some tough opponents, and she's going to be one of them. It's just different style, and trying to adapt to that is going to be a little difficult, but I think I can handle it.
All right, perfect. Well, I know one fan in particular that will be there to cheer you on. My daughter's a big Valentina or Vampirina fan, as she continues to say. Um, Before I let you go here, same thing as always when you're on the show. Where can people follow you? I know we're plugging Jingle Bells, but other events coming up that they can see Valentina in action. Please feel free to share where and how they can catch that.
So I will be at Titans on December 7th. It's a tag match. My tag partner is Paulino versus Amity and Anthony Gangone. That will be in Hoboken, New Jersey. I also have a match at Victory Pro Wrestling, which will be in Long Island. Got the islands wrong there. about to be ostracized. That would be December 14th. I would be there. It's fan choice, so I don't know what that entails, but I'm pretty sure it's against Salem and Willow.
Okay.
Sorry, not Willow, Tatiana. I'm getting
Yeah.
all my people confused today. That's early, even though it's not. And I trying to remember what else, but those two places that are like prominent in my brain right now that I know I'm gonna start promoting more. I just got, some of these little pictures to promote. So I'm very excited that these matches will be happening. And yeah, bell to bell, but I
Mhm.
don't want to spoil anything.
Right.
Spoiler.
All right. Sounds good. Well, as always, a pleasure to have you join the show. I'm sure this won't be the last time that we do this. If you're not following Valentina, we'll make sure we put all her social media stuff, especially your Blue Sky account now. Make sure you're following over there. But we'll put all that in the show notes and make sure you're watching and following. Thanks, everyone, for checking out this episode. And I hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving.